Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Young and the Restless spoilers. Sharon battles dark side and overcomes Cameron Kirsten Cassie ghost, saves her mom. Young and the Restless. Y&R. Spoilers hint that Sharon Newman, Sharon Case, has been battling her dark side in recent weeks. She decided to truly embrace her negative feelings instead of masking them with her bipolar medication. She spiraled since going off on her meds, and as loved ones desperately try and stop her from hurting herself or someone else. Looking at you, Daniel Romalotti, Michael Graziadei, could this storyline explode on a good note? I&R spoilers suggest that someone is bound to get hurt the week of September 23 to 27. After all, the weekly preview shows Sharon in tears wondering how this happened and how she's ever going to get out of this. This seems to reveal that Sharon is going to cross the line, and as Daniel seems to be her target, fans fear that something terrible will happen to him. Still, Y&R fans also know how the show loves to swerve audiences with their preview videos. Could this be a dream Sharon's in? Could Sharon be on the cusp of doing something terrible to Daniel, possibly have him locked up somewhere, when she stops and realizes that what she's doing is wrong? Could Cassie Newman, Cameron Grimes, return as either a hallucination or ghost, and talk some sense into Sharon before she does something? Is this the closure Sharon has been looking for? If Cassie steps forward and reveals that what happened to her was an accident, no one's fault, not Daniel's nor her mom's, could Sharon get the closure she deserves? Will Sharon's negative feelings toward Daniel be erased? I&R spoilers suggest that Sharon's storyline will culminate on Thursday, September 26. Then on Friday, September 27, the show celebrates 30 years of Sharon Newman with a special episode, as the character takes a walk down memory lane. There's sure to be some fun video flashbacks. However, if she ends up hurting Daniel on Thursday's show, it would seem like an odd time to be reflective during Friday's show, right? The 30-year special episode sounds like it will be a feel-good one, and it's hard to imagine the soap profiling Sharon's lowest moments to add on to this one. There's a good chance that Sharon defeats her dark side on Thursday, abolishes the Cameron Kirsten Lyndon Ashby hallucination to finally have some inner peace, without the help of meds. The night was still in Genoa City, but inside Sharon Rosales' house, a storm was brewing. Not the kind from the heavens, but one deep within her. It had been weeks since Cameron Kirsten had returned from the shadows of her past, once again tormenting her fragile peace. Every moment she thought she had finally escaped him, his icy grip tightened. The nightmares had returned, the ones where Cameron's laughter echoed through the darkness as Sharon ran, endlessly searching for a way out. But tonight things were different. This time, Sharon wasn't running anymore. The air inside her living room was heavy, as if the very walls were closing in. Sharon sat on the edge of her couch, staring at the flickering fire in the hearth, its glow casting long shadows across the room. She couldn't shake the feeling that Cameron was closer than ever. He had been taunting her for weeks, breaking into her life in ways that were both subtle and overt. A phone call here, a message there. He was everywhere and nowhere all at once. Her fingers trembled as she clutched her teacup, barely able to keep her composure. It felt like Cameron had infected her very mind, taking her back to the terrifying time when she was his prisoner, helpless and lost. No matter how hard she tried to push him away, his presence lingered like a poison in her veins. Sharon looked up at the framed photo of Cassie on the mantelpiece, her daughter's angelic smile beaming back at her. "I wish you were here, Cassie," she whispered, her voice breaking under the weight of her sorrow. She had already lost so much, she couldn't bear to lose herself again. As if on cue, the room suddenly grew colder. Sharon glanced around, her breath catching in her throat. She wasn't alone. Her phone buzzed on the coffee table, the sound slicing through the thick silence. The screen lit up with a text from an unknown number. "I'm always watching, Cameron." Sharon's heart pounded in her chest as panic set in. She stood up abruptly, the teacup slipping from her grasp and shattering on the floor. The sound seemed to wake her from a trance, reminding her that this was real. Cameron was real, and he was closer than ever. For a moment, she considered calling Nick or Ray, but something stopped her. She had spent so long leaning on others, relying on them to protect her from the dangers lurking in the dark. But this time she knew she couldn't be saved by anyone but herself. If she didn't confront Cameron once and for all, he would haunt her forever. Taking a deep breath, Sharon marched upstairs to her bedroom, where she had hidden away the letters Cameron had sent her. She yanked open the drawer, pulling out the crumpled papers, her hands shaking as she read through his twisted words again. Each one felt like a dagger, cutting deeper into the wounds she thought had healed long ago. "I'll never let you go." A tear slipped down Sharon's cheek, but she quickly wiped it away. No more tears, no more fear. This was her life, and she wasn't going to let Cameron take it from her again. Suddenly, a soft breeze swept through the room, despite the fact that the windows were closed. Sharon froze, her breath hitching in her throat. She turned slowly, half expecting to see Cameron lurking in the shadows, but instead, a figure stood in the corner, bathed in a soft, ethereal light. "Mom!" Sharon gasped, her hand flying to her mouth as she stared in disbelief. It couldn't be. But there she was, as real as the day she lost her, Cassie. Her daughter's spirit stood before her, radiant and calm, her smile filled with warmth and love. "Mom, I'm here," Cassie said softly, her voice like a melody from a dream. Sharon's knees buckled, and she collapsed onto the edge of the bed, tears streaming down her face. "Cassie, is it really you?" Cassie moved closer, her presence filling the room with a sense of peace that Sharon hadn't felt in years. "It's me, Mom. I've been watching over you. I've seen everything." Sharon sobbed, her hands reaching out as if she could touch her daughter, even though she knew Cassie was only a vision. "I don't know what to do, Cassie. Cameron, I can't escape him." Cassie's expression softened, and she knelt down in front of her mother, her ghostly form shimmering like a star. "You can't, Mom. You're stronger than you think. You've survived so much already. You don't need to let him control you anymore." Sharon shook her head, the weight of her past crushing her spirit. "I'm not strong enough. Not without you." Cassie smiled sadly, brushing a phantom hand against Sharon's cheek. "You are strong enough. You always have been. I'm here to remind you of that." Sharon closed her eyes, letting Cassie's words wash over her. The fear, the panic, the anxiety that had gripped her heart for so long began to ebb away, replaced by a growing sense of determination. Cassie was right. She wasn't the same broken woman Cameron had tormented all those years ago. She had fought too hard, survived too much to let him destroy her again. When Sharon opened her eyes, Cassie was gone, but the warmth of her presence lingered. A fire ignited in Sharon's chest, and she stood up, her resolve stronger than ever. She wasn't going to let Cameron win. Not this time. She was done being his victim. As Sharon picked up her phone, she dialed Cameron's number, her hands steady and sure. When he answered, his voice dripping with malice, she didn't flinch. "I'm not afraid of you anymore, Cameron," she said, her voice steady. "You don't control me. You never did." There was a pause on the other end of the line before Cameron spoke, his voice low and dangerous. "We'll see about that." Sharon hung up, her heart pounding with adrenaline. She didn't know what Cameron's next move would be, but she didn't care. She wasn't the scared, broken woman he remembered. She was stronger now, and with Cassie watching over her, she knew she could face anything. As the night stretched on, Sharon sat by the window, staring out into the darkness with a newfound sense of peace. Cameron may have been lurking in the shadows, but Sharon had light on her side. And for the first time in a long time, she wasn't afraid.